In the opening of chapter 1's track, I talked a little bit about counterpoint and Renaissance and wanting to bring those elements in, mixed along with some of the more modern sounds. This track opens with that very idea. For me, it's a couple things. One, they're almost contrapuntal lines. The guitar part is what you might think of as almost a figured bass part, meaning it's outlining the chords. It has its own shape, but it's not just holding chords or not repeating a pattern. It's just this very easy line that's going in counterpoint in ways to the cello part, which is itself also quite fragmented, which isn't necessarily a component of counterpoint, but it leaves a lot of space for the line to come out. As this melody keeps going, we get a new instrument that joins in. I'll just solo that new instrument. A beautiful organ sound provided by the MS-20, which gives it also another sense of almost religiosity, spiritualness, but also connects to music of the way past just because of the quality of the sound. Yet, of course, done through a very modern instrument in regards to that, the timeline in which we're talking. After that melody section, we get something that is pretty much completely different, very different sound. Let's just listen to that really quick. So we get basically a soundscape. We get Corbin's little motive, if you want to call it that, in terms of digital sounds over in that speaker. What we have going on here is all based around this. Very sterile melody played just in the cello. And to that, we add other elements. For instance, a vocoder, some cello tremolo, and then on the soundscape side of things, we have a chaos pad, and we have the Mini Nova being used for some sounds. Sorry. The melody from in the first minute of the track is this contrapuntal line that's going like this. Now that last element I just played, the rhythm that enters, finally we get a sense of rhythm that comes in. And now I'm going to play where this goes. Listen to that sense of rhythm and listen to the melody that comes in. That rhythm gets introduced in that first little second section that sounds very different, and then it gets maintained throughout the entire next section. This is another classic idea taken from a lot of classical music and a lot of pop music and rock, a lot of rock, especially progressive rock, that you get what you might think of as a second verse. In this case, I don't think of it as a second verse, but I could definitely see how someone could use that terminology, and it gets changed by a couple ways. One, the second thing that was introduced, you might see this, for instance, in sonata allegro form a lot, especially in Brahms. He introduces the secondary idea, usually a rhythmic idea. He introduces it earlier on in the piece, and when you get to the secondary melody or the second melody, there's this new thing that's actually already been there. This is a very similar concept to that. A kick drum is added to add a little bit more rhythm, and then the second and third cello are added to harmonize that same opening melody. After that is completed, I'm just going to play you where it goes. Okay, so we get this completely new melody. Hasn't been introduced yet. That's incredibly long and takes actually the track to a close. If you listened to the first episode of these Behind the Music videos, at the end I talked about this concept of long free-form melody that feels timeless and endless against rhythm, this juxtaposition of texture and contrast of what's happening in the lines. Well, it's being used here. Again, I'm very certain I didn't tell myself, I'm going to use that concept again. It just felt right for what's happening in the story. At the end of this track, things are starting to get normalized that maybe don't need to be normalized, or someone could say maybe shouldn't get normalized. And I feel this kind of contrast and juxtaposition of textures is perfect for that, especially when combined with the open tonality of it. Let's just quickly break down the two sides of things. Here are all of the rhythmic elements that are happening in this part. So up in the percussion line, we literally have, I believe, just playing on the rim of the snare. Oh, it's not, I was incorrect. I was playing on, I'm not sure what it's called, the joint that holds the toms. I was playing on there just to get a really clean, real sound, like in a room, as opposed to just being created in a box going into a box. We have a chaos pad down here. And then we have what I lovingly call the never-ending arpeggio. And never-ending is reference, yes, to the movie, which Alicia and I both love. Now, let's listen to just the melodic ideas that are happening. There's only one melody happening. There's no harmonization. There's no secondary layer, just with different tones, like we did in the first track. And this makes it sound very stark and very bare, which adds to the quality of what's happening in the story. Now I'm going to start towards the end of the section and let the track play to an end, just to show something. Okay. In the spirit of wanting to find new expressions and look for some newness, for me anyway, I believe that as a composer, creator, and thinker about music, that I have to eschew ways that I think about music to find those. If the way I think about composition and music and orchestration and form and all these things are the bearing I use to which I compose, I'm going to always have similar things come out. Even that's not a bad thing necessarily, but I am interested in finding new sounds using all these different elements. And so one way I do that is by not, at least I think I do that, is making myself do things that I don't necessarily want to do. This ending is an example of this. To me, it's kind of I'm thinking just musically, kind of a boring ending. It doesn't have any kind of resolution. It doesn't end beautifully in a way that sets you nicely in a pillow, metaphorically. And it doesn't end in a big way that sends you off into something. And it ends with a complete question that offers zero resolution. Again, until you go to the third track. Now, when I was writing this, I wasn't necessarily thinking that way yet. I made myself end it this way because I didn't necessarily want to, and I didn't want to use any of the tropes or things that for me anyway, I know make a solid ending of a track. So this is an example of tools or elements or thinking that I personally use to look for new sense of expression or new sense of newness. And does it work? I don't know. We'll find out.